Langley looks pretty good on paper. You drive around and see brand new schools, massive homes, and more space than you could ever get in Vancouver. It looks pretty dang good. But here's the truth nobody really talks about. There are certain detached homes in Langley that you should not buy right now. And if you do, you're not just risking a small mistake, you're risking a six-figure mistake that could drain your savings, kill your resale value, and leave yourself asking, why did we ever buy this house? So in this video, I'm gonna break down exactly which detached homes you should avoid, why they're risky, and what smarter alternatives you could focus on instead. And stick with me till the end because I'll share which detached homes in Langley are actually a safe bet right now. So you don't just avoid the bad ones, but you also know where the real opportunities are. Let's start off why Langley is so tempting. Before we talk about the bad, let's acknowledge why so many people are running to Langley in the first place. Compared to Vancouver, detached homes in Langley are often hundreds of thousands of dollars cheaper, and that price gap alone pulls a ton of people in. You get a real backyard, not just a patio, not just a tiny patch of grass, an actual yard where your kids or your dog can run around. For schools, Langley has been building brand new schools in places like Willoughby, and families generally love that. For lifestyle, there are wineries, trails, shopping, family-friendly communities, and it feels very suburban. And the big one, the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension. Once that's running, Langley becomes way more accessible and demand is most likely only going to increase. So yes, Langley looks great, but here's the warning. Not all detached homes are equal. And if you buy the wrong one, all of those benefits I just listed don't really matter. Let's start off with flood risk home. The first group of detached homes you need to be very careful with are homes built on floodplains. Parts of Langley, especially near the Nicomekl River, Yorkson Creek, and the Salmon River are at risk. Now, flood risk doesn't necessarily sound too scary when you're house shopping. In fact, some people get attracted to it because you get views or a lower price. But here's the reality. Insurance is way more expensive. Sometimes you can't even get the coverage you want. Resale is a nightmare. Every savvy buyer and realtor checks the floodplain. Once they see it, they either walk away or they negotiate you down. And the kicker, if the city updates the flood maps, you could suddenly be forced to upgrade drainage, add sump pumps, or do flood proofing that costs tens of thousands of dollars. Think about the 2021 Fraser Valley floods. Basements filled with water, furnaces destroyed, water heaters gone, families displaced, and not all of it was covered by insurance. So picture this, you buy your dream home, put all your savings into it, and then 6 months later, a major storm hits and you're standing in 2 feet of water in your basement. Most likely not exactly what you signed up. That's why flood risk homes are a massive red flag. Next, we're going to talk about older homes with hidden costs. The second group of detached homes I tell clients to be very cautious about are the older 1970s and 1980s builds. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these homes are amazing. You'll find bigger lots, mature trees, quiet streets, especially in areas like Brookswood, Walnut Grove, and Alder Grove. But the problem with these homes is they can be ticking time bombs. So here's what you're often dealing with. Septic tanks instead of city sewer. Replacing one, $20,000 to $40,000 generally. Poly B plumbing. Insurance companies hate it. If it bursts, you're flooding your whole house and ripping apart the entire thing. Aluminum wiring. Aluminum wiring is a fire risk and insurance companies sometimes won't even cover you unless you upgrade. Old roofs and windows. A roof replacement on a detached is easily $20,000 to $30,000. Windows are usually $15,000 to $25,000. Energy and efficiency. Drafty single pane windows, no insulation, ancient furnaces, which means your heating bills may skyrocket. And here's the sneaky part. These homes often look fine during a showing. Fresh paint, new flooring, and maybe a quick reno. But the big ticket problems are often hidden behind the walls. So yes, you might get a deal on an older Langley detached, but unless you budget for renos, you're setting yourself up for years of surprise expenses. Next, we're going to touch on detached homes on busy roads. I know you've seen them, homes fronting onto 200th Street or Fraser Hwy or backing onto Glover Road, even some spots on 72nd. At first glance, these homes look like great deals. They're often 5 to 15% cheaper than a similar home on a quiet street. But here's why they're a bad idea. Noise 24/7 and it never goes away. Safety, if you got kids or pets, having 4 lanes of traffic outside your front door can be stressful. Resale, in a very slow market, busy road homes are often the last ones to sell. Buyers have choices and the first thing they skip is traffic exposure. Yes, you save a little bit of money up front, but when you do sell, you're the one giving that discount. And if the market dips, busy road homes take the biggest hit. Next, we're going to talk about overbuilt spec homes. This is the fourth type of detached home to avoid. You know the ones. The 4,000 plus square feet packed onto a 3,500 square foot lot, usually in Willoughby or in Brookswood. And I get it, they're shiny, They've got glass railings, massive islands, quartz countertops, 2 fireplaces, and sometimes even built-in speakers. It feels super luxurious. But here's the truth. The lot is tiny. You're basically buying a giant house with no backyard and zero privacy. Construction quality is often questionable because builders are building these out so fast. I've seen cracked drywall, leaky basements, and uneven flooring in homes that were less than a year old. And they date very quickly. Right now, they look amazing, but in 10 years, buyers will want the next new thing. And you'll be competing with homes that make yours look tired. So yes, they look impressive, but in the long run, they don't hold value the same way a well-built home on a larger lot does. For our fifth, we're going to be talking about mortgage helper traps. Langley detached homes with suites are pretty much everywhere, and for good reason. They help make the mortgage more affordable. But here's what you need to be careful of. A lot of these suites are not permitted, and worst case scenario, the city could shut it down. A lot of them are DIY jobs, and I've walked through suites where wiring looked like it came from a how-to YouTube video, and it's not just sketchy, it could be dangerous. Lenders often won't count these suites as income. So if you thought that extra $2,000 a month would help you qualify, it's not always the case. And here's the big risk. Buyers assume mortgage helper means safety net, but if the suite isn't authorized and the city shuts it down, you're left footing the full bill yourself. So if you want suite income, make sure it's legal and permitted. Otherwise, it could be a gamble. So now let's talk about timing. Detached homes in Langley hit insane highs in 2021, but they dropped about 20 to 25%. Now they stabilized, but here's the reality. Interest rates are still high. Inventory is still creeping up, and buyers have more choices. And when buyers have options, they often get picky. That means the wrong detached, flood risk, busy road, sketchy suite sits on the market longer. And a lot of cases, it's months. And if interest rates drop in 2026, buyers can shift back into condos and pre-sales because they're cheaper and easier. So don't just ask yourself, is this house nice? Ask yourself, will this house hold value if the market changes? So now that we've gone through all the traps, let's flip it. What should you be buying in Langley right now? Homes on quiet interior streets, not busy roads, properties on outside of the flood zones, detached with legal suites, keyword is legal, homes near future SkyTrain stations, Willowbrook 196, Willoughby Town Center, homes in strong school catchments like RE Mountain or Alex Hope. These are homes that are going to hold their value, grow in demand, and make you glad you bought in Langley. So here's the bottom line. Langley is an incredible place to live, but only if you avoid the trap. Flood risk homes, aging 70s and 80s builds with hidden problems, busy road homes, overbuilt spec builds, and sketchy suites. If you focus on land, location, and future demand, you'll make a smart move instead of a costly mistake. And if you're sitting there thinking about buying in Langley and you don't want to risk a 6-figure mistake, shoot me a text at 604-288-7592. I'll send you my full Langley buyer guide and walk you through exactly which homes and neighborhoods actually make sense right now. Thanks for hanging out with me, and before you go, make sure you check out my other videos on the neighborhood of Langley, because trust me, it's not just the house that can surprise you, it's the lifestyle too. I'll see you in the next one.